ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
Scared and alive or dead? That was the ultimatum given by a very concerned doctor to Erin Patterson. I'm the ABC's court reporter, Kristian Silva.
And I'm Stephen Stockwell. It is Wednesday, the 7th of May, and we've just seen things wrap up for day 6 of Erin Patterson's murder trial. Welcome to Mushroom Case Daily.
The prosecution argues she had travelled to nearby Loch and Outram, where there'd been sightings of death cap mushrooms.
She told doctors she fed her children leftovers but scraped the mushrooms off.
Police allege Ms Patterson refused medical treatment for both herself and her children.
Ms Patterson admits she lied to police about foraging for mushrooms and getting rid of the dehydrator.
Kristian, you are fresh out of court after a day of hearings in Erin Patterson's trial. Can you give us the breakdown or a quick wrap of what we heard today?
It was a pretty busy day in court, Stocky. We saw some security footage and we also heard a 000 call played to the court. The footage showed Erin Patterson trying to leave the Leongatha hospital just a couple of days after the lunch took place. We also heard evidence from Dr. Chris Webster, one of the first medical experts who saw Erin Patterson. We also heard from more members of the extended Patterson and Wilkinson families, and some of it was pretty emotional.
Yeah, it was quite an emotional day. I want to spend a bit of time talking about what it would have been like for the family members to give evidence today. I thought some of that was really interesting, but you talked about the hospital and some of the doctors who are giving evidence today, doctors from the Leongatha Hospital. This is the hospital that was caring for Ian and Heather Wilkinson, and also that Erin Patterson showed up to.
They were the first doctors that were called on to treat Erin Patterson. So Dr. Chris Webster was called to the stand. So on the morning of July 31, 2023, this is 2 days after the lunch, he was aware that Don and Gail Patterson were also sick. So he knew that 4 people from this lunch were not doing well. And then when Erin Patterson turned up to the hospital and said, "I've got gastro," it didn't take long for him to put the pieces together and realise she's the 5th person.
Yeah, this is the other person that we've been talking about from this lunch.
This is the chef. And at this point, the suspicions being raised that the mushrooms might be the thing that has made everybody sick. So Webster on the stand today said that he told Erin Patterson that he was concerned that she might have suffered from a death cap mushroom poisoning, and he has asked her to stay there because he wants to get her straight into treatment. He also asked her where she got the mushrooms from, and she said Woolworths. So anyway, Dr. Webster said that he went off to attend to another thing quickly, and before he knew it, Erin Patterson had discharged herself from the hospital against medical advice, and we were actually shown some security footage of this.
This is the first time we've seen any video played in this trial, right?
I believe so. So to describe what we saw, Erin Patterson was wearing a surgical mask. She's in a red jumper, a beige coloured pants and some brown black sandals. And she's seen walking up to the door of the hospital to leave. And this is just minutes after she's turned up. Another doctor is seen kind of trying to stop her from leaving. You can tell that she's encouraging her to stay, even though you can't hear the audio. And Erin actually reaches over and hits the button to open the automatic door. And in the end, she doesn't actually leave straight away. What she does is she's given a form to sign and then she signs it and walks off. So anyway, Dr. Webster then finds out that she's gone and he's really panicking at this point, very concerned for her welfare. This is what he told the court. And he rang 000 in the hope that the police might actually be able to locate Erin Patterson and bring her back to hospital because he was so worried that she might go down the same path as the Wilkinsons and the Pattersons, who by this point were not doing well at all.
Yeah. And did we also hear the 000 call in court today?
We heard the 000 call and we can hear Dr. Webster introduce himself to the call operator. He says, that there's been this lunch and that several people have suffered from a suspected poisoning. And then he tells the 000 caller, one of the people has discharged herself against medical advice. She was only here for 5 minutes. He says her name's Erin Patterson, and he asks if the police can go and find her. And in the end, what happens is Erin Patterson actually returned to the hospital after about 90 minutes. So the police didn't need to go and forcibly bring her back. But what the police did do when they got to her house is they were able to find some of the beef Wellington leftovers in a bin.
Yeah.
And that was collected and actually brought back to the hospital.
Yep. When Erin came back, we also heard about how she was also a bit reluctant for her children to come to the hospital as well. She didn't want to take them out of school at the time. She didn't want to worry them. And Dr. Webster had a pretty blunt response to that, right?
Dr. Webster wasn't mucking around. And he again explained to Erin Patterson how serious this situation was in his mind. This is according to his evidence in court today. He said that Miss Patterson told him her children had also eaten leftovers of the beef Wellington, but not the mushrooms. So Dr. Webster said he inquired about where the children were. She told them they were at school, and he said he stressed the importance of getting the children to a medical facility. And he said Erin was reluctant to inform the children, and I said it was important, and then she was concerned that they were going to be frightened. And there was this ripper quote from Dr. Webster. He told Erin Patterson in regards to the kids, they can be scared and alive or dead. That is a pretty powerful way of putting things. And Dr. Webster said that she started to understand the importance of contacting them, and then she indicated it would be done. As we know, the kids were eventually checked out and taken to hospital, and prosecutors say that the results showed they were fine.
Yeah.
I mentioned a moment ago about how some of those leftovers were brought to the hospital. We also saw security footage of one of the doctors sifting through them. So she pulls it out of a brown Woolworths shopping bag, and initially it's like this kind of brown sludge stuff, probably about the size of an index finger. And then she pulls out this second bigger bit, and that's the beef Wellington pastry.
Right.
The doctor's seen... the doctor's wearing gloves, by the way, I should say.
That's
Yes.
good.
The doctor pulls out her phone, snaps a photo, and then puts it back in the bag. So that was another bit of footage we saw.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things, and something I want to mention at this point, is that we're describing the exhibits because we don't have access to them at the moment. So we're not seeing them. You're seeing them in court, but they're not being released for other people to see. So that's why we're going through the process of describing them. We might get access to them later.
I really hope so. So in some cases, the exhibits are released as the court case progresses. Unfortunately, that's not happening in this case. All of the media outlets are obviously very keen to get a hold of these exhibits so we can show people at home what we're seeing and what we're hearing. So as soon as we can bring those exhibits to you, we will definitely be doing it.
Yeah. At this point, we heard today at least, a lot of the results in the medical tests that were being done on Don and Gail Patterson and Ian and Heather Wilkinson and how they were progressing and what symptoms they were experiencing and all of that. And we also heard a bit about some of the medical tests that Erin had done, and the results were quite different.
Several doctors have been giving evidence yesterday and today about the medical conditions of the 4 other guests, and in short, their conditions decline really badly. They have liver problems, organ failure, all the stats look really bad, and we know how it ended for 3 out of the 4. We got some information about Erin's results, and this is just from the Leongatha hospital. She was checked out later at another hospital, but we focus on Leongatha for now. Dr. Veronica Foote said medical tests conducted on Erin Patterson indicated regular blood pressure and temperature, but an elevated heart rate. But that eventually settled as well. And she said other tests which were looking for electrolyte disturbances yielded reassuring results. So while Erin Patterson's medical tests were not looking that concerning, at the same time, the other 4 were really going downhill.
As well as a lot of the doctors giving evidence today, we also heard from some of the children of Gail and Don Patterson and Ian and Heather Wilkinson. The one that stuck with me the most was Anna. She's the youngest daughter of Gail and Don Patterson. And she was someone that the court heard was actually quite a good friend or close friend of Erin Patterson for a period of time.
A long time.
Yeah, a long time. Her and Anna were pregnant at the same time. Their children were born just a couple of days apart. Erin read a Bible passage out at Anna's wedding. What was it like in the courtroom as both of them were in there together?
It was really hard to see how difficult it was for Anna. She was almost in tears just after giving the oath. So barely a minute or two in the witness box. And she became emotional as she described the pain that her parents were suffering while in hospital. And you could see while she was saying this that Erin Patterson also feeling quite emotional. It was really obvious. And I really felt for Anna. Like at times she would clutch her chest and pause, and it was really, really hard for her. And when she finished her evidence, there was a supporter in the courtroom who sort of put an arm around her, and that was kind of nice to see, just a little moment of support to say, well done for getting through that, because it must be so difficult for these kids to talk about such a traumatic experience.
That was one of the things I was thinking as, she was giving evidence and while seeing another one of their sons give evidence as well. And it's, I know that the purpose of this isn't to ask them how they feel about their parents passing away, but I find it quite jarring just at how cold the lines of questioning are as they're being talked through all this and asked these questions.
It kind of goes back to, remember back at the very beginning of the trial when the jury's told to dispassionately weigh up the evidence?
Yeah.
That's kind of what this is. It's like there's no real room for feelings. It's just about the cold, hard facts and what can be proven beyond reasonable doubt.
That's exactly it. And it was nice to hear you say that there was the supporters in there. We've also seen, a number of the Patterson and the Wilkinson families in court over the last couple of days as well, supporting each other through this.
They're occupying a good 10 to 15 seats of the courtroom, so they're definitely turning out to support each other each day.
It is nice to see that kind of support in the courtroom. Obviously, a really difficult time for these families. So to have, the family there would be so helpful to get through something like this. The inbox of Mushroom Case Daily continues to expand. We love hearing from you. We've had so many wonderful messages. mushroomcasedaily@abc.net.au. We have a question here from Jano. They're wondering why are the witnesses such as Ian and Simon not being asked things like, do you believe the poisoning was intentional and why?
All of the allegations made by the prosecution have got to be backed up with evidence. So let's take Ian, for example. He's been asked in detail about what was said to him or what he was made aware of before the lunch, things that were said at the lunch and even afterwards. But asking him about his opinion, if that can't be backed up with evidence, isn't really going to cut it to prove anything to the level that's required in a court. So people are asked about what they saw and heard, but not really about their opinion or about the vibe of things.
Yeah, I feel as though I can't attribute this to a certain situation, so I'm going to be incredibly vague so our lawyers don't hit me on the knuckles. But I feel as though I've heard Justice Beale in some situations just sort of reminding witnesses just to go, oh no, look, just stick to the facts.
Justice Beale has said to some of the witnesses to talk about what was said, not what they think someone meant.
Another question here from Emma. This is actually relevant to some things we heard today, so great timing on your question, Emma. She is interested to know if Ian was asked about the taste of the beef Wellington. I would have thought that it would have been important. Did they continue to eat it even though it tasted a bit weird, or did they eat it out of politeness, or in fact because it tasted good?
Well, we know that Don Patterson ate 1.5 servings. His wife only ate 1/3 to 1/2, depending on who you ask. Ian and Heather both ate their full servings. I don't remember if Ian was asked about the taste of the beef Wellington, but we have heard evidence from several people who spoke to Heather Wilkinson shortly after the lunch, where she was raving about the beef Wellington. And today, 2 of her friends from church said that she called the beef Wellington beautiful and delicious. And this was in the hours after consuming the meal, obviously unaware that what was inside of her was a ticking time bomb and that within a week she'd be dead.
Yeah, yeah. Laurie's asking, is interested in the timeline of when Erin took the dehydrator to the tip. How does that fit into the lunch when people go into hospital, when people passed away?
Let's try and step through it methodically. So the lunch is on a Saturday afternoon.
Yep.
By the following morning, the Sunday, all the guests are feeling sick.
Yep.
By the Monday, Erin Patterson has presented to hospital.
Mm-hmm.
The prosecution in their opening said that Erin Patterson went to the tip on the Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
2 days after that, the guests start dying. 2 died on the 4th of August and 1 on the 5th of August.
Yeah, that's the Friday and the Saturday of that week. We are continuing to follow up questions that we have had in the past. One in particular is from Joanne, who was asking about the dessert for the beef Wellington lunch. I think it was a couple of days ago, maybe an episode last week, we found out that it was a fruit platter and a cake. And Joanne wanted more detail on the type of cake. So Joanne, we have continued to bring you these details. Today we heard that the cake was an orange cake.
Yes, that came from Anna, one of the children of Don and Gail.
Yep. And we've had a lovely email here from Bob, who is living in the foothills of the French Pyrenees at the moment and is waiting up each evening for the arrival of the latest episode. Thank you for staying up late for us, Bob. They get into their electrically warm beds and hang on every word and sound, which is very kind. They're off tomorrow to start a walk on the Camino for a couple of weeks and repeat this ritual for as long as they can access ABC Listen. Thank you for the ABC Listen plug, Bob. I appreciate that. They're going to be heading home to their place in Lismore in about a month or so. And Bob's question is whether there will be an outcome or a verdict before then.
Before the end of the month. Well, the trial's set down for 5 to 6 weeks. So probably not. I guess you never know with these things, but I would imagine we'll get to the end of the case early, mid-June.
Yeah, we'll keep you informed, Bob. Keep listening as soon as we know more.
And hello to everyone else who's listening overseas as well. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're listening from overseas, let us know. And if you're writing us an email as well to mushroomcasedaily@abc.net.au, let us know where you're listening from. Give us a shout out. We'll shout out your town, your suburb, your locale, just to let you know, so you've got a bit of credit for your local area. And yeah, please keep sending us your questions and your emails.
As we approach the end of the week, Dr. Veronica Foote, one of the doctors who was at the Leongatha Hospital who treated Erin Patterson, will continue her evidence tomorrow, and there might be some more witnesses after that.
Please make sure you track down Mushroom Case Daily on the ABC Listen app and hit follow. And if you're on the Listen app, you're in for a little treat because you actually get our episodes half an hour earlier than you do on any other app that you're listening to. So if you need a little extra bump to get behind the ABC Listen app, there you go.
Mushroom Case Daily is produced by ABC Audio Studios and ABC News. It's presented by me, ABC court reporter Kristian Silva, and producer Stephen Stockwell.
Our executive producer is Claire Rawlinson, and props to Kristian's boss, Sarah Jench, and Audio Studios manager, Eric George, and our true crime colleagues, Tim Roxburgh, Rachel Brown, and Yasmin Parry, for helping make this show a reality. This episode was produced on the land of the Gunai-Kurnai people.
You've been listening to an ABC podcast. Discover more great ABC podcasts, live radio and exclusives on the ABC Listen app.